Without Talbot, we should have gone hungry with many others. But he inquired around until we found a native willing to feed us. So we ate on an upturned hen coop outside a native hut. The meal consisted of pork, bread, and water. We strolled to the beach at the hour appointed with our boatman. He was not there, nor any other boatman. "Never mind," said Ward. "I'll know him if I see him. I'll go look him up. You fellows find the boat with our things in it." He and I re-entered the village, but a 15-minute search failed to disclose our man. Therefore, we returned to the beach. A crowd was gathered close about some common center in the unmistakable restless manner of men about a dog fight or some other kind of row. We pushed our way in. Johnny and Yank were backed up against the palmetto awning of one of the boats in an attitude of deadly and quiet menace. Not 2 yards away stood 4 of our well-dressed friends. Nobody as yet displayed a weapon, except that Yank's long rifle lay across the hollow of his left arm instead of butt to earth. But it was evident that lightnings were playing. The boatman, who had appeared, alone was saying anything, but he seemed to be supplying language for the lot. Johnny's tense, alert attitude relaxed a little when he saw us. "Well," inquired Ward easily, "what's the trouble?" "Yank and I found our goods dumped out on the beach, and others in their place," said Johnny. "So you proceeded to reverse matters. How about it?" he inquired pleasantly of the 4 men. "I know nothing about it," replied one of them shortly. "We hired this boat, and we intend to have it, and no whippersnapper is going to keep us from it." "I see," said Talbot pleasantly. "Well, excuse me a moment while I talk to our friend." He addressed the man in Spanish and received short, sullen replies. "He says," Talbot explained to us, "that he never saw us before in his life, and he never agreed to take us up the river." "Well, that settles it," stated the other man. "How much did you offer to pay him?" asked Talbot. The man stared. "None of your business," he replied. "They're asking $20 a head," volunteered one of the interested spectators. "Exactly. You see," said Talbot to us, "we got here a little too early. Our bargain was for only $15, and now this worthy citizen has made a better rate for himself." "You should have had the bargain immediately registered before the alcalde, senor," spoke up a white-dressed Spaniard of the better class, probably from the castle. "I thank you, senor," said Talbot courteously. "That neglect is due to my ignorance of your charming country. And now if you'll move, young turkey cock, we'll just take our boat," said another of the claimants. "One moment," said Talbot Ward, with a new edge to his voice. "This is my boat, not yours. My baggage is in it. My boatman is on the ground. That he is forgetful has nothing to do with the merits of the case. You know this as well as I do. Now, you can acknowledge this peacefully and get out, or you can fight. I don't care a continental red copper which. I only warn you, the first man who makes a move with anything but his 2 feet will be shot dead." He stood, his hands hanging idly by his sides, and he spoke very quietly. The 4 men were not cowards, that I'll swear. But one and all, they stared into Ward's eyes and came individually to the same conclusion. I do not doubt that dancing flicker of refraction or of devilment was very near the surface. "Of course, if you are very positive, I should not dream of doubting your word or of interfering," said the tallest and quietest, who had remained in the background. "We desire to do injustice to no man." Johnny behind us snorted loudly and derisively. "If my knowledge of Spanish is of any value in assisting you to a boat, pray command me," broke in Ward. The crowd moved off, the boatman with it. I reached out and collared him. Talbot had turned on Johnny. "Fairfax," he said icily, "one of the first things you must learn is not to stir things up again once a victory is gained. Those men were sore, and you took the best method possible of bringing on a real fight." Poor Johnny flushed to the roots of his hair. "You're right," he said in a stifled voice. Talbot Ward thawed completely, and a most winning smile illumined his face. "Why, that's what I call handsome, Johnny," he cried. "It's pretty hard to admit the wrong. You and Yank certainly looked bold and warlike when he came along. Where's that confounded mozo? Oh, you have him. Frank, good boy. Come here, my amiable citizen. I guess you understand English after all, or you couldn't have bargained so shrewdly with our black-legged friends." The flush slowly faded from Johnny's face. Yank's sole contribution to the changed conditions was to spit with great care and to shift the butt of his rifle to the ground. "Now," Talbot was admonishing the boatman, "that was very bad. When you make a bargain, stick to it. But I'll tell you what I will do. I will ask all people, sabe? Everywhere. Your people, my people. And if everybody pay $20, then we pay $20, sabe? We no pay $20 unless you get us the crucis. Poco pronto, sabe? Now we start." The boatman broke into a torrent of talk. "Says he's got to find his assistant," Talbot explained to us. "Come on, my son. I'll just go with you after that precious assistant." We sat on the edge of our boat for half an hour, watching the most comical scenes. Everybody was afflicted with the same complaint, absence of boatmen. Some took possession and settled themselves patiently beneath their little roofs. Others made forays and returned dragging protesting natives by the arm. These generally turned out to be the wrong natives, but that was a mere detail. Once in a lucky while the full boat's complement would be gathered, and then the craft would pull away up the river to the tune of pistol shots and vociferous yells. At the end of the period mentioned, Talbot and the two men appeared. They were quite amicable, indeed friendly, and laughed together as they came. The assistant proved to be a tremendous Negro, nearly naked, with fine big muscles and a good-natured grinning face. He wore large brass ear circlets and bracelets of copper. We all pushed the canoe to the very edge of the water and clambered aboard. The Negro bent his mighty shoulders. We were afloat. End of chapter 4.